Hey guys, welcome back, or hello if you are new. My name is Brianna Michaela and this is my YouTube regarding all things nursing. Today I am going to be talking about my secret tips to get A's in nursing school. So my first tip for you guys is when you first get your syllabus, you have access to your classes, your information, the first day of school, whatever. Whenever you get your syllabus, print it out. Or maybe the teacher will have a physical copy for you, but having a physical printed out copy is the best thing that you can do. Your syllabus should have a list of dates, assignments, exams, anything coming up, projects, extra ATI modules or whatever with their due dates on them. So if you print this out, put it into one of these protective sleeves, and then you are going to be putting it in the very front of your binder. So this is my binder. So you're going to be putting your syllabus in the very front. You're going to be putting your syllabus right here in the front, again in these sleeve protectors, so that as soon as you open up your binder, you have this right in front. You see all your daily tasks, what you're going to be going over that day in school, any assignments you have coming up, any pertinent due dates, that is right there, right in front. Then you're going to take your syllabus information, the due dates, assignments, quizzes, days that you're on campus, days that you have Sims labs, anything like that, you're going to be putting it into your calendar. You're going to be putting it into either your iCalendar if you have an iPhone, or if you don't like using electronics for things or technology for things, you're kind of more old school and you like to hand write out things, put it into a physical calendar or a planner. So here is a big physical calendar that you can purchase to put all of your due dates in, your classes, anything you have coming up. I didn't utilize mine a whole lot because, like I said, I do like to use my iCalendar. I can pick it up anywhere, have it anywhere. You can see that I did attempt to start. This is all the way back in April of 22, so I clearly didn't use this a whole lot and just kind of sitting on my desk as decoration at this point. But I'll show you how I use my iCalendar instead, since I use that the most. I personally don't use a planner. I like just having my iCalendar. I can pick it up anywhere from any of my Apple devices and have it all there for me. And then I have it on the front home screen of my cell phone, so that when I pull out my phone, I see what is due the next day, what's coming up. And I also like to utilize Google Tasks, what my schedule looks like at a quick glance. I know what I'm going to be needing to do, where my energy is going to be, so I can plan out my study and everything better. And I will be checking my iCalendar, my Google Tasks, reminders that I set myself, my physical syllabus regularly, every day, multiple times a day. I want to make sure I'm leaving no stone unturned. I'm not forgetting certain due dates, which will be detrimental to your grade. And if you do get behind and you have all these assignments that are piling up, then you're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to be doing poorly on your exams. You're not going to be sleeping well, horrible work-life balance. This program is already hard enough as it is. Do anything you can to make it easier on yourself. I promise you it'll make a whole world of a difference. So during the actual lecture itself, my teacher will pull up a PowerPoint and then she goes over all the points, adds information, whatever. So while she is going over the PowerPoint for whatever chapters we have for the next coming test, I will be following along in my textbook. This is the textbook that we are currently using since we are in med-surg. It's pretty thick. I use the ebook a lot more than I use this thing. That's just heavy, it's big. I like using the ebook so that I can access it anywhere. When I'm at work, if it's slow, I can pull it up on my phone, on my iPad, on my laptop, whatever. But while my teacher is going through the PowerPoint over the chapters, I follow along and I highlight all key information. I circle things that she's stressing on, things that she repeats multiple times, because that's something that she's really trying to drill into our heads that she wants us to know, and more than likely will be on either our coming up exam, exit exam, CMS, NCLEX, whatever. So I'm trying to really pay attention to those. My textbook, I want to make sure that I am highlighting those areas that she is going over, because I do actually utilize my iPad quite a bit while she is lecturing. I don't even know what generation iPad this is. It's relatively new. It's not the newest iPad out there. My husband got it when he upgraded, I believe, our cell phones, and they gave it to him for like $200 or something. So I didn't go out and spend a whole bunch of money on it. A lot of things I had for have for nursing school, I ended up just kind of accumulating during my associates or when my husband was doing his master's, and I just kind of took over some of his things. So I utilize my iPad quite a bit while she's speaking, and I do have an Apple Pencil. This is like the first generation Apple Pencil. It's nothing crazy. But I follow along on my GoodNotes app, which I will be showing you how I use it and kind of what GoodNotes is. It's actually pretty popular. But while she is speaking, I will bring up the PowerPoint and I will, again, just like the textbook, highlight things, go over key terms that she keeps mentioning over and over and over, things like that. I'm writing it there on the PowerPoint. So this is my iPad that I take notes on while my instructor is going over the lecture. This is one of her PowerPoints. And while I'm following along, I'm highlighting, I'm taking extra notes on things she has said that I felt like were important. This one's kind of blank. Unfortunately, I did delete, for whatever reason, one that was pretty full of information. But you can see up here in the top, I did go through with the textbook and I wrote down a little bit of information that I felt like was important to know about that particular subject. And sometimes your teacher might even say, hey, if this is going to be on the test, this is something I really want you to know. So you better make sure you know it. So I will jot that down really quickly on my iPad. So this next part, I like to refer to it as condensing. So I have my iPad, I have my textbook or my ebook with everything highlighted, extra notes that she has gone over, and then I will go back into the textbook itself. I have those areas highlighted that she's mentioned, things that we've seen on the PowerPoint, so I can go back and anything that is in those sections, those paragraphs that she did not mention, I will take from the textbook and I will add to my PowerPoint slides so that I have all that information condensed in one area, just in case she forgot to mention something or I need further clarification on a certain topic, certain subject, then I will get that from the textbook, put it there in my PowerPoint, so I have condensed all that information into one area. This one I did end up getting a little bit more information from the textbook, just kind of going over the different types of hernias and how they affect GERD and things like that since we are in GI. So then I go further from there. So I take my PowerPoint with all the extra information on there from the textbook, from the lectures, and then I will type up on a Google Doc my own notes so that I have just a really quick brief run through of everything. Try not to get super wordy about it. I try to get the main points at the top, highlight main important things that she has said or things that I feel like would help me better understand that information or like I feel like is a good testable question. Put that into my notes. They look like this. This is the paper version. I do both. I have either the paper version or I utilize my iPad. And a lot of times I work in a study group with my friends from school and not all of them like to utilize ebooks or Google Docs or whatever. They do like to print it out. So maybe if they typed up some part of this or this is their notes, then we'll print it out for each other and then I will go through and make extra notes, highlight things I feel like are important. I like to restate the information as well, which regardless if I'm doing this on paper or on my iPad, I do the same exact thing. I rewrite the information, rewrite key terms, what signs and symptoms are, how they manifest, what your nursing actions are, and things like that, because that is the most important. Most of your quizzes should be on what are you going to do as a nurse. It's not going to ask you what is sickle cell anemia, period. No, it's going to ask you what do you do during a vaso-occlusive crisis. So you do need to know what sickle cell anemia is. You do need to know because you need to know how it manifests and why it's causing the certain signs and symptoms that they do, but you need mostly to know what you as a nurse are going to do about it for your patient. So this part I like to call read and listen through. I use the app Speechify to listen to my notes that I have typed up, which look like this, just on a Google Doc. The app will read through word for word, not the handwritten parts, but all the typed parts. As long as you convert it to a PDF, it'll read it to you. So you can listen while you're driving, while you're at the gym, you're cleaning, you're cooking, you're at work, like I do. I pop a headphone in, watch my monitors, and I just listen. Because again, I have ADHD, so I'm a multimodal learner. I need to see it, hear it, write it, work with the information until I have fully retained that information, because repetition is my biggest key in really learning the information. You need to know that information so well that if you see it in any kind of manifestation, any kind of crisis, you know what you need to do as the nurse to resolve it. So it's not just black and white, spoon-fed answers. It's lots of critical thinking. So like I mentioned, I do rewrite my notes. I will use my Good Notes app, my Apple Pencil, and I will physically rewrite over my typed out notes, not in shorthand, word for word, what signs and symptoms are, things that I feel like are really important to absolutely know. I will write them out in the margins. And a big key for me is to listen with my Speechify app while I'm using my Good Notes app. I will listen to each paragraph at a time, pause it at the end of that paragraph, and rewrite the information. I circle, highlight along as I'm going through. I do that in a certain way, which I will show you in a moment, but I am listening to it as I'm reading it and as I'm writing it. That helps me the most because, again, repetition helps people with ADHD, especially myself, the most with getting that information really drilled in there. So these are my notes that I have typed up for one of our exams. And like I said, when I am reading this, I am also listening to it with the app Speechify. They're going word for word through this, and I'm circling certain things, I'm underlining certain things, rewriting things that I feel like are important for me to understand, so that I am listening, I'm hearing, I'm reading, and I am writing. As you can see here, I rewrite certain concepts. I rewrite a lot in the margins, and I highlight a lot. I will star a lot. And for those of you who do not like to utilize ebooks, this is the physical book. This is all my different notes and things that I have written in the book, things I've circled and underlined and gone back over, things that I felt like were important to know. So this part I went through pretty heavily because for whatever reason, the different layers of the blood vessels was really hard for me to get down for whatever reason. I got them mixed up a lot. So I went through, I made plenty of notes, I highlighted certain areas. You can see here I did go through the different types of shock pretty in depth. Shock is kind of a big topic, and it's very important to know the different signs of shock and what causes them. So I went through, and I do actually read my textbook. People say don't read every word. Unfortunately, in my program, I feel like my teacher does test us more on the information in our textbook rather than the concept, which a lot of schools do go off concepts. My teacher unfortunately does not. So I do need to know kind of word for word in certain areas what is being said so that I can do well on the exam and know this information. So flashcards. The first term of my program, I did use the physical flashcards, these bagel things. I got it from Amazon. They come pre-hole punched and with a ring. They're in different colors. So I would, just like a typical flashcard, put the key term on the front, key concepts on the back. And I would flip through them pretty regularly. However, carrying a few of these big stacks around, this is from one chapter. That's a lot. So if you have 5-6 chapters that you're getting quizzed on, you're gonna be carrying 5 or 6 of these everywhere you go. It's not very practical. So I do utilize Quizlet a lot, which is a popular app. You can also go on their website. It's the same thing, it's flashcards. They can also read your flashcards to you. It's not the best, but it's another way of listening to your information. Quizlet does offer tests based off of the Quizlet flashcards that you have made. They have multiple choice, fill in the blanks, true or false. So it's another good way to work with that information, because the more you're working with certain information, you're thinking about it from different paths, different angles, the better you're going to not just retain the information, but you're going to actually understand the information. And to listen to my notes, I like to use Speechify and Quizlet. And Speechify reads along with you and it highlights the words. So if you do have ADHD, or if you're dyslexic or anything else, or you just like to follow along, it highlights where you're at to keep you on track. I do like it a lot, and you can pick different accents. And so I have told you guys about how to utilize your syllabus, your calendars, your reminders, your Google Tabs, how to listen and take notes during lecture, condensing your information into one area, read and listen through your information, through your notes, flashcards. But my biggest piece of advice really is practice questions. This allows you to see the same concept being asked in different ways, and to be asked different questions about that concept, that disease process, that nursing intervention. So again, that you really understand what you as a nurse need to do in this situation, no matter how it is presented, how it manifests, or is being asked. One I do like to utilize the most is the ATI dynamic quizzes. Again, ATI. This is what ATI looks like. If you go to new custom quiz, this is what it looks like. These are all the different subjects that you can create practice quizzes on. I like to utilize this quite a bit. So if you go to unanswered, clear out the subjects. If you look here at nursing care of children, there are 0 questions left, which means that I did all, I think there was 412. I did all 412 questions before my CMS, and I got a level 3, which means I got 100% for that quiz. And the fact that it's like 18% of your grade is pretty huge. I got level 3s on them. So far right now, as of today, I'm 3 for 3 on my CMSs. So that means I've gotten 100% on them, which, you know, they're like 20% of your overall grade. So that's huge. And my textbook does have chapter questions at the end of each chapter. So I like to do those. And if I miss something, then I go back to that section in the textbook and I will reread it so that I really know the information and I know why I missed the question. I do like to utilize study groups. It helps to hear that information being asked by somebody else, and sometimes having a conversation will help things stick into your brain better. My group and I, we do like to not divide and conquer, but to combine and conquer. And there's a lot of other resources that you can use. There's lots of apps out there. There's lots of YouTube. There's study guides out there. There are nursing notes and things that you can get off of Etsy or Instagram that are very helpful. I have purchased a few. I do actually really like a couple in particular, so I will be just briefly going over those in a different video. I will go over all the different apps and things that I utilize. I'll go more in depth about Quizlet and Speechify, things like that I've mentioned in this video. But my biggest secret tip, I guess, really is just start early, start fast, get that information down, do it as many different ways as you have to so that you really retain it. A lot of my fellow classmates, especially in the beginning of the program, asked me, hey, how are you doing this? What are your study tips? Help me, please. Because I was answering a lot of questions in class, I was helping out other people, and it was just pretty obvious, you know, that I'm not having a very hard time with the program. But again, I do have my associates already, so a lot of this information is review. A lot of it is still brand new. I don't know everything, but so a lot of people come up to me and be like, hey, can you help me? And some of them were expecting me to kind of spoon feed them the answers, which unfortunately in nursing, you can't be spoon fed questions and answers. It's very critical thinking heavy. You have to really, really know what you're doing. You have to understand disease processes and all these other things that go into it. So doing this, looking at it from so many different angles has helped me the most. So again, print out that syllabus, get your dates down. Don't slack, don't be lazy. Otherwise you're gonna be a lazy nurse and your patients are gonna suffer and potentially your license is going to suffer. Listen to the lectures, follow along in your textbook, take extra notes, pay attention to what the teacher is saying, because sometimes they're gonna say, hey, this is going to be on a test, or they're gonna really emphasize and repeat things a lot, and they are going to be testing you on the information. Even if they don't verbally say it, you know, if you're listening, you're paying attention to what they're saying, you can jot it down. Go to the textbook, use your resources to supplement your notes and your learning. Print out those notes, read those notes, listen to those notes, whatever you have to do. Do a ton of practice questions, use flashcards, utilize your study group. You have a bunch of people in your class, so you guys are all trying to survive the program together. You're all just trying to get through it. So why not use each other? It's better to start off strong than to start off weak and try to play catch up in the middle of the program, the end of the program, when you're sitting at a 75% and you're coming up on your CMS, that's 20% of your grade, and you have to get a 65 just to pass the dang thing and still barely even get a good grade on it. So it's important to start early, start fast, start strong, don't get behind, pay attention to those dates, ask questions if you need to, utilize all of your resources. You do need to prioritize your program. This is your future. My program's 1 year, RN programs 2 to 4 years, depending on where you're at, whatever. So embrace the suck for the short term, for the long-term gain. It's a lot of work, it's exhausting, but you can do well if you really try. Remember, you're not dumb. Everybody is learning. You're not stupid. Everybody is in the same boat as you. Everybody's just trying to get through the program. It's okay. We're all learning. We're all learning together, and we will all get through it. And that was my video. I know it's a little long. I'm trying to keep them a little bit shorter. I do like to ramble. I do like to talk. I am Italian Mexican and I have ADHD and I'm passionate about this subject. So, but I hope this helped at least somebody out there for tips and tricks about how to study in nursing school. It's not easy, but we will get through it together, and I will see you on the other side, my fellow nurses. Bye.